It is I, Joey Only Caribou Weather Dude, giving you one of these dire forecasts that I give many years. 2017, I gave one that was much like this. In fact, in some ways, what's going to happen on Tuesday and Wednesday kind of reminds me of 2017. I don't know if it's going to be that bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, but dry thunderstorm set up after a bunch of heat and heat to follow. So that does have some reminiscence of 2017. 2018, I predicted it well ahead of time, nailed it to the hour. 19, I said won't be fires this year. I was right. 2020, I said nah, nothing's gonna burn this year. I was right. 2021, I called it to the day. 2022, I called it the day. 2023, I called it the day. 2024, I'm gonna call it to the day. Tuesday, look out! This is bad news.
This is bad news.
My God.
Falling out right now.
Anything could happen.
Wow.
I'll watch the video later.
Feel the heat.
I need more milk. I need water.
Ain't dry mopping this.
This pale blue dot. All alone. Everyone who's ever denied anthropogenic human-caused climate change lives here. BC, we've been on the bad side of the jet stream for a long time. It's been cold in BC for a long time. You can see right there, Hurricane Beryl. Hurricane Beryl, the strongest hurricane to come through the South Caribbean in 20 years. And it's also the earliest Cat 5 hurricane ever on record. So very concerning. The waters are super warm down there. It's been warm down south. Extremely record-breaking warm for a long time now, and people in BC kind of get this like looking at your own backyard kind of thing. Wow, where's the heat? It's not hot anymore. Where's climate? Well, it's still out there, and it's been happening, and finally we're getting our turn. So we actually have new heat warnings in British Columbia today. These are expanded further north and into the Peace as well. So 100-mile north, Thompson, Fort Nelson, BC Peace, daytime highs in the 30s, overnight lows in the mid-teens. Beginning Sunday, lasting till Wednesday. I expect we're going to see more of the caribou included in that very soon. Looking at the low 40s this week down in southern British Columbia. Nothing drives me crazier than how often I sit here year after year and talk to you about what fire weather is. How when the temperature goes over 30 degrees, how when the humidity comes below 30%, when you add a little wind, fire weather becomes so explosive that almost no one can do anything about it. I don't know how many times I got to tell you that. And I tell people that every year after year after year, and then people act surprised when it happens and say, whoa, look, the government burnt my town down. Fucking pay attention. The weather and the fuel and the topography are the three things you need to have a clear understanding of when it comes to fire weather. So understand, we don't make maps like this to scare you or to make headlines. No one in weather cares about making headlines. That's not what we're about. The headlines write themselves. All we got to do is report on it. So understand what this map means. What these map means, it's a forecast probability of above or below normal temperatures. So you look at the average of all the years, we have an average of this day. What was the average temperature this day over all the years? Well, it seems like the probability is we're going to be above for the next month. So understand that the reds aren't there to freak you out. There's no conspiracy about the reds on the map. So we look today up to 500 millibar height, go up to the bottom end of the jet stream, up to 18,000 feet or something like that, 20,000 feet. And you see we still got that bit of a wind cutting across. And that may make a little bit of thunderstorm in southern BC today in the very far southeast corner. But other than that, this is going to move out, and we're going to be not trapped by a jet stream on the cold side of things. The jet stream is moving far to the north. And for the next little while, we got some weather moving through next week, possibly colliding into the province. But all in all, you look at that, bam, we're back. We're into warm weather more or less for the next foreseeable future. So if we were to go back in time 5 days and look at the models would all say that there's pretty much 0% chance of precipitation up the entire western side of the continent. And that more or less holds true. And that's why if you looked at the forecast for BC a couple days ago for next week, it would have told you sun. Air mass thunderstorms are very hard to predict because they self-generate. They suck moisture out of trees, out of the land, out of the water, out of you. They drink up car exhaust. They eat the convection that forms from the runway of an airplane, an airport, or black surfaces in the city. They find orographic lift in the mountains. Things in BC don't necessarily need a line of weather to come through to generate. So you look at the map here and it still shows nothing for precipitation in the BC interior till maybe Thursday up north. We're looking at some thunderstorms. But here's the problem. You can't easily predict air mass thunderstorms. And I knew this, so I said on Interior Weather and Wilderness Watchers a couple days ago, and I said on the show, Meteorological Report show this week, that just because it's not calm for thunderstorms in the BC interior next week doesn't mean they aren't going to happen. If we just look at reported temperatures right now, Saturday, July 6th, We got 38s down Texas, 42s up through Death Valley, 38s, 34s. That's what's moving north this week. Maybe seeing highs in the interior tomorrow of 35 in Kelowna, 34 Penticton, 35 Kamloops, 30 100 Mile House, 32 up to Quesnel. Jump to Monday, looking much the same, 36 Kamloops, 37, 36 Kelowna Penticton. Tuesday, getting hotter. Then we start seeing Kamloops 39, Williams Lake 36, 36 Quesnel. Here's the day we're expecting the thunderstorms, 37, and we got temperatures that are through the roof. Stays hot in southern BC on Wednesday. Stays hot in the central interior. A little bit of a break on Thursday from the heat. And maybe by next weekend, the heat is already pounding right back into us. So here's where things start to already get concerning. As Monday, we start seeing these little blobs of thunderstorm activity popping up in southern BC. These unpredictable air mass thunderstorms. And they don't appear like they're coming with much for rain. By 2 o'clock on Tuesday, we're seeing that mostly in the central interior. Possibly some strong storms out by Vanderhoof. So these aren't large line thunderstorms like some of the ones we've seen so far this year that are like, it's like a whole huge area storming and raining and storming and raining. That's not happening this time. These are going to be individual cells most likely to pop up here and there, and they'll show up where they want to show up. They'll do what they want to do, and probably start some fires. This map looks at precipitable water, how much water is in the atmosphere that can actually be used for precipitation, how much of it is available. And as you see in BC, none through into Monday, none through into Monday. We got this like storm off the coast, and it's not allowed to come into the province, but nonetheless, it's going to just give a little bit of instability inland so that midweek we have a slight bit of precipitable water, certainly more if we go up to the Peace area where I know there'll be thunderstorms. So what does that mean? That means dry lightning overnight into Wednesday, maybe still some flashing. It's going to be really hard right now for me to predict how severe these storms might be. I could really believe that with the heat, they could do something fantastic. Wednesday, exploding in the Peace area with lots of fire already. Wednesday, Caribou, Prince George again, looking not good. Yukon, Northwest Territories, Fort Nelson again. It's 29 degrees that day in the middle of the afternoon Wednesday, and thunderstormy. So again, fire outbreak. That continues up there Thursday for them. And then Friday, maybe southern BC gets. So I think these will change. All these images don't look too concerningly at the individual little blobs in the map because they're probably going to be all over there. Could it be bigger? All the map is showing you right now is that, hey, wait, there's a forecast change. And that could go for next weekend as well. So this to me is where it gets scary. Crossover weather Sunday, 26% humidity. That fire breathes air. And if the air is dry, fire is happy. It's that simple, everybody. You got to understand. Humidity low across the province on Monday. Tuesday, even lower. And in these areas where we could have thunderstorms, very low humidity. Very low humidity. So, who knows what's going to drive these thunderstorms. But you see there's a shortwave trough into the central part of the interior here. So, we know something's going on there. And all you got to do is go up to 7,000 meters, which is higher than any, this is 20,000 feet. But it's minus 20 up there. And minus 22 up there in central. So, there's cold air at the top that can be used to create that friction that thunderstorms will feed on, for absolute sure. It's there. I knew that already, and that's why I was saying already a couple days ago, I expect this could change. It's still pretty cold in the upper level. This ain't like the heat dome of 2021 where you go up to that same elevation I just showed you. If you went to 21,000 feet on June 29th, it would have been, 30 degrees or something like that. It was crazy hot up there. That was why it was a heat dome. And here's where it gets even scarier on Tuesday, right? So the real explosive fire weather setup is 30 degrees Celsius or hotter, 30% humidity or lower, 30 kilometer hour winds or above, right? That's what makes fires get up and run 10 kilometers in a day. There's nothing you can do about it. Get out of the way. All that matters at that point is getting everyone out of the way and getting everyone safe. That includes fire crews. That includes me. That includes you. That's the kind of weather that this is. Now, it's not quite as dry in the BC interior because of all the rain we've had. But the thing is, because it's not as dry, there's actually a lot more for thunderstorms to feed on. We're not in a situation where the land is so parched that a developing storm has nothing it can drink from. Instead, it's going to find the hillsides are moist, the soil is moist, the trees are green. That's going to give lots of evaporation that will lead to what can feed a thunderstorm because we don't have precipitable water coming in. It's got to come from somewhere. So in that way, the weather conditions we've had so far this year have actually led to that stronger possibility of thunderstorms developing out of nowhere. Isn't that fucking funny how fire weather works? So you got these 50-kilometer-an-hour winds, Kamloops, 45, go up into the Caribou, a little better. I mean, these are wind gusts. I'm not saying it's going to be blasting 50 straight at you all day. What's it going to probably be doing? A gentle breeze through a lot of the day, but we've seen already on Friday, Thursday, here in Wells, it was windy as all hell yesterday. I was up trying to fall trees on Thursday. It was sketchy. I had to like sit there and wait for the wind to stop. So we know we got this storm up here, going to send a little bit of instability in. We know that there's basically no precipitation expected. So we're going to have thunderstorms that pop up. Some of them, not very many, because there's not a lot of moisture to work with. Cold front's going to move through Wednesday. That's going to create even more winds. That's going to create any fire that's burning is going to take off. And that's why we're looking Wednesday at very warm temperatures still, but now much stronger winds to a much wider spread of the entire Rockies, the coast mountains. The mountains are going to be generating a lot of wind themselves, right? So what else do you want me to show you? I'm guessing you actually didn't want me to show you any of that. Fire danger rating, more or less for today, Canada-wide. Still a bit of a swath. Newfoundland, Quebec, Ontario, that's fairly dry. Conditions deepening in the north coming up now, and we're seeing a change. So already we're seeing a change in these indices. We're noticing that the fine fuels are drying out faster. So last time I made a fire forecast, I looked at some of these things and I said, well, here's where it's going, but it's probably going to be worse than this actually, because they're very conservative. Well, here we go. We see that if you looked for this day, last time we talked about fire weather, it was not this red for fine fuel moisture code. The fine fuel moisture code, that helps the initial spread index, how fast can fires take off when they first light. You add the drought code, the Duff moisture code, and you get a map that looks like this with the build-up index. And these are still pretty good indices for much of BC. Now let's jump ahead. And we're looking at the build-up index for midweek now for the 10th, and we see that BC's drying out fast. Northwest Territories drying out fast. Improvements out east, that's everyone's going to be happy out there. But deepening of the situation in the Northwest Territories, Yukon getting worse, Southern Interior getting worse, BC drying out quickly. And by the time we get to the 14th, mid-month, when we expect that next round of heat to be really setting in, we're already now looking on the build-up index pretty red in lots of places, 60 to 90, which is still high through the central interior and the Prince George region. Still, because it's been the driest, the longest, the most lightning, the longest, and still very deep in drought. The Northeast still tends to be the place where the most fire activity has been going on in BC lately. Some activity already today, but we're not quite hit that time of the day yet, because it's only noon here as I'm making this. We're not hit that time of the day yet where fires are starting to really get up and move. Some new fire activity up north of Fort Nelson. Well, that's positive signs, though, that everything's still far away from the town. This guy that was up above along the river, the Fort Nelson River there, had been quiet for a long time. But as you can see, there's a lot of dots that are showing some activity this week. So we're very concerned about that moving south. Of course, there's a very large gap between Fort Nelson and there. But when you look at how black spruce forest fuels burn, if it can get into a good run there, it's not good. Lots of fire activity in the Yukon, but nothing showing very aggressive growth. Just a few spots here and there that are showing active burning. So the thunderstorms up there have really helped kick things down for a little while. And that includes Fort Good Hope, where we've gone from having a lot of activity this week to seeing not pretty much any in the last 2 days. So that's good news for them. More activity in Alberta, though, going on now than there was. And we do have some of these fires in the Northwest Territories that are showing some activity as well. So we expect them all to wake up and become active as this heat sets in. So that's the skinny of it. Way hotter than you want, way drier than you want, way more windy than you want, and thunderstorm potential. So we're probably going to see fires kick off on Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm expecting in the BC interior, maybe even some on Monday on Southern Interior. Going to see more fires light up. Right now, if you look at BC Wildfire Services site, though, it'll show you that 16 fires were put out yesterday. In the 24 hours before yesterday, and 10 new ones have started. So still they're seeing more going out than are starting. That balance will change quickly, right? I don't know if we're going to see like a 2017 where 300 fires starting a day. I'm not seeing the aggressiveness of thunderstorms necessarily yet. But we got a couple days to go before we get to Tuesday. And so I think these maps are going to change. These models are going to change. That's why you want to hit subscribe, come back. And if you do spend some time on my channel, go look at some of the crazy videos I put out, including a brand new short movie I made called Fire and Lightning. And it's about all the events that happened in my life last exactly 1 year ago in July 2023. Anyways, that's the show for today. Be ready, and I'll have more for you on Monday morning as we get a better idea of exactly what's coming. But fire weather